How you doing and welcome to my channel. Today I'm having a look at the Hot Toys Scorched Xenomorph from Alien Romulus. Just having a quick look at the box there, you can see it's a tall box. It's quite reflective as well. I've had to make adjustments to the camera and turn my studio lights away from the box itself, otherwise all you'll see is a reflection of my studio lights. So forgive me if it's not lit up very well. Image of the Xenomorph on the front of the box, very nice image of it with the red filter over it. Alien Romulus written at the bottom, Scorched Xenomorph, MMS 784. On the side we have the same again, Alien Romulus, Scorched Xenomorph, MMS 784. And then on the back we have the usual warnings and details and information about Hot Toys. And while I pull the sleeve off, as usual, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Underneath the slipcover we have an image of the figure. It looks like the figure to me, yeah, judging by the joints there, it is the figure itself, which I always like to see on the box. The Xenomorph and Hot Toys presents Scorched Xenomorph at the bottom there, MMS 784. So that's it for a quick look at the box there. So moving on, let's have a pan of the figure itself. So here we are for a quick pan of the Scorched Xenomorph from Alien Romulus before we get into the details. And Alien Romulus is a return to the roots of the Alien franchise, if you ask me, in the tone and the aesthetics, with callbacks to the original movies. Now, some of those callbacks are good and some of them are pretty bad. For instance, I'm personally not a fan of the reuse of some of the dialogue when Andy says, "Get away from her, you know the rest." I actually cringed, wasn't happy. The year is 2142, exactly 20 years after the events of Alien and almost 40 years before the events of Aliens. So it's in between the first two movies. And the director, Fede Alvarez, got the idea to center the movie around young adults after he watched the director's cut of Aliens, with the added scene of young children running through the corridors of the colony on LZ-426, with one of the kids on a little trike, if you recall that scene, if you've seen the director's cut. That was the inspiration to center around young adults. And in the movie it shows how Weyland-Yutani are just as monstrous as the Xenomorphs when they refuse Rain release from her contract after 12,032 hours of work, equivalent to about 6 years of her life. She was told that she had to do another 12,000 hours, showing that Weyland-Yutani only see her as a property or a vessel. And there's a reason why every main character in the franchise is a female, is because the whole concept from the face hugger forcing itself upon you and forcing its phallic-like appendage down your throat, and the Xenomorph's phallic-like inner mouth are all symbols of, how do I say this for YouTube, SA. And a lot of H.R. Geiger's work is like that. And it shows how the body is only used as a host. The human body is only used as a host or a vessel. And in the movie, we have six main characters. Rain and Andy, who Rain calls Andy her brother, although he is a synthetic. Tyler and Kay, who are actually blood brother and sister. And on a side note, the actress who plays Kay, or the character, should I say, of Kay, was inspired by Dina from The Last of Us. And some of you may notice that the actress who played Kay went on to play Dina in the Last of Us TV show. So things kind of went full circle there. And then we have Bjorn and his adopted sister Navarro. So six people, all part of a duo in a sense. And the station they go to is split in two as well, Romulus and Remus, named after the mythological twin brothers who founded Rome. And in turn, Romulus ended up killing Remus. So that's just a couple of facts about Alien Romulus and the franchise. So before we get too deep, I'll leave it at that and we'll move on to... Actually, I just so happen to have a book of H.R. Geiger's Necronomicon, his artwork, and it is quite graphic and a lot of it is very phallic shaped, and I've even had to blur out the cover itself just to be YouTube friendly. And I don't think there's many pages I can show you, maybe this page here, that I can show you without getting flagged by YouTube. So, and another reason as well, I don't want to show you this as well, or this book or any of the pages in it, is because I want to wait until I get the Hot Toys Big Chap in order to go through this, because the Xenomorph, the Scorched Xenomorph, is not H.R. Geiger's original design. The Big Chap is. So H.R. Geiger had a lot to do with that movie too, Alien, and didn't have anything to do with the Alien Romulus movie. So I'll wait until I get the Big Chap in, and we'll go through this book in a bit more detail. So here we are for all of the accessories and attachments that come with the Hot Toys Scorched Xenomorph. Starting off with his hands, we have 8 hands in total. 2 kind of open palmed, reaching out kind of hands. We have 2 more closed fingers, gesturing hands, almost kind of like a pointing hand there, to be honest. And then we have 2 closed hands, kind of gripping, with almost like a gripping hand. And the hands, the fingers themselves, they're not articulated, but let me grab this one here. They're quite flexible, the hands. They're made of a very soft plastic. They are pliable in a sense, and they're not going to snap off because they're made of a soft plastic. And that is Hot Toys all over. To be able to make these in a softer plastic that won't just snap if it falls over or anything, which is fantastic of Hot Toys to do. Moving on, we have 2 interchangeable carapaces. One clean and one scorched, which the whole theme behind him being called a Scorched Xenomorph is for this carapace here. And we do have an option to make him a clean Xenomorph, so you did get multiples. You can have a clean and a scorched, which is fantastic. Very translucent, as you can see, so we can see the skull underneath it, and it does have the battle damage on it there. So, like I said, if you did get multiples, if you were fortunate enough to get multiples, you can have different looks for them. And then this is probably my favourite accessory. Well, my second favourite is a fixed open mouth. Hot Toys have learned, with all their knowledge and all their wisdom and all, of their 6-scale figures over the years, 25 years, and making many Xenomorphs over the years. Anybody who knows the Hot Toys knows that leaving the mouth open on previous Xenomorphs destroyed the rubber at the sides, stretched it out, and in a lot of cases actually snapped the rubber on the sides. So Hot Toys have graced us and been nice enough to give us a fixed open mouth to avoid any damage in the future. Like I said, years of experience from Hot Toys, and that's irreplaceable, these years of experience. So they've added this to alleviate any future issues with the figure. And now my favourite accessory, we have a fully articulated face hugger. The paint on it is quite nice. It's got this satin effect to it to make it look wet and slimy. Really nice, almost like a kind of an amphibious kind of paint looking to the paint on the part that does the breathing. A little bit flat at the bottom. The mold is a little bit flat. But as I mentioned in the pan, it is deliberately shaped in this particular shape, which is reminiscent of a female's anatomy, which is in theme with H.R. Geiger's, theme of what his artwork is like. All of the legs are articulated, and if you were to kit bash a generic human figure, you could wrap that face hugger around your figure's face to make him look like he has been a victim of the face hugger, which is absolutely fantastic to add that articulated face hugger. I wouldn't mind a couple more of these, to be honest. And then we have a fully articulated tail on it as well, which again is absolutely fantastic. A great addition, a great little accessory, and I only wish that this had a few more in it. A couple more face huggers, would have been great, because in the movie there's quite a few of them. So there we are for the accessories. Let's have a look at the base. So here we are for the base for the Xenomorph. Quite a large base. It is that diamond shaped base that they've used for many, many years on figures. They've just added this extra platform on top of the diamond base that they use for a lot of figures, especially figures that have backdrops behind them or dioramas many times. You can see a lot of the slime from the Xenomorph, if that's what you'd call it. Like goo from the Xenomorph is molded onto the grid here. It is quite a step up. It does add, just shy of an inch of platform on top of an already tall figure. So it is a bit of a height issue if you have a D-tall. Quite nicely done though. Big enough for the Xenomorph to fit on and stand on. And it does have a light up function, but before I do that, I'll just show you the front there where it says very poorly printed. Not a fan of this at all. Alien Romulus Scorched Xenomorph just printed on. I would have liked the plaque. I think that's quite cheap. And if you can see underneath there where they haven't quite finished painting it, spray painting it, airbrushing it, whatever they do, you can see there the join line just looks unfinished to me, not perfect at all. So if this figure is slightly above your eye line on a shelf, you are going to see this very poorly painted join on the paintwork there. I'm not sure if that's just my copy or if everybody's copy has that unfinished paintwork on it. So let me switch on the light up function. There we go. Very, very underwhelming if you ask me. Unlike the Terminator figures that I got recently, the base is very underwhelming. Let me just hit the lights on the studio there and we'll have a look at the full effect of it. Yeah, a little bit underwhelming. With display lights on in your display cabinet, that is going to be very minimal. It's not going to be very effective. What do we have? 6 LEDs in there. Not extremely powerful. Not great, to be honest. A little bit underwhelming, as I said, but it is what it is. Not the most powerful, but it'll do the job, I suppose. With the studio lights on, it makes it even less effective. So there we have it for the base. So here we have the Scorched Xenomorph almost standing as he comes out of the box. I have had to hunch him down a little bit just to get him into frame because he's quite a tall figure and I haven't actually got his tail in frame there. I've done the best I can. This Xenomorph, I'd say, is on par height-wise with the General Grievous that came out recently. So it is quite a tall piece. So I'm going to have to bring everything forward just to be able to reach this guy. So we will start off from bottom to top and we'll work our way up and we'll have a look at the details. So starting off with his feet. As you can see, they are quite articulated. You can get quite a range out of movement out of his feet. I didn't look that closely in the movie, so I don't know. I'd assume it is accurate. But this kind of burgundy colour on the toes, it's obviously correct. And he does have, just like his teeth, have this chrome kind of nails on him, which is accurate. But I'm not sure about the burgundy and the burgundy on the back of it there, or crimson kind of colour on the back there. I'd assume it is accurate. This little sleeve here, made out of a soft plastic or rubber, covers up the joints, which is absolutely fantastic. You don't see the joints. And he's got this kind of kickback as well, which is accurate to the design of the alien. And it's got all of these details. Every single piece of this figure has detail to it. So it looks absolutely fantastic. This little spike bit at the back of it there with kind of what you would call it, the Xenomorph's Achilles tendon, I suppose you could kind of call that. And again, he has this shimmer all running through him, all up his body. It's like almost like a satin, bit of exposed joint at the back there. Not much Hot Toys could do about that. But what does disappoint me, if I can move his hand out of the way, if you over articulate his knee, you do see a huge gap there, an exposed joint. So as much as he does have a big range of motion, if you do over articulate his knee joint to get him right hunched over, you completely expose this joint here, which it does have it. It means it does have its limitations. It can only go as far as there before you start showing that joint. You can see the detail of all these kind of ribbed effects all running up it, which is accurate. It's on point. It looks fantastic. A bit more kind of the paint. It's got this kind of almost like the chrome effect on the toes, running up these little nubs that stick out of him. He does. His legs are all plastic, but the upper half, the upper torso part, has a rubber. It's like a rubber sleeve over it. All of this part here is all made of a rubber, which I hope is going to last. And the tail has this rubber sleeve over it as well, with the wire running through it for articulation. All this bottom part here is made of this rubber, and he does have quite a bit of a range to it, flexibility to him, which is absolutely fantastic. And they couldn't do that without the rubber sleeve. So they wouldn't have that articulation without the rubber. And he does have these kind of tubing parts that do protrude out a little bit. They're not just stuck to the body. They do. There is a relief on them. They do come out, out of the torso. And then we go back to solid plastic for the rib cage up the top. If I can get him into frame, I beg your pardon. We do have, as I said, back to the plastic for the upper half of the body. And there is a little bit, it's very difficult to get this guy fully into frame. I'm struggling here. There is a bit of back and forward, a little bit of back and forward, if I can get him to do it. There we go. A little bit of movement. So not a whole heap, but enough there, to get him into some, quality poses. And then more of this kind of, like I said, satin finish to him to make him look a bit wet and slimy. Although I would have thought he looked a bit more slimier than he does. But I'm not saying it's a fail. It still does the job. The light bounces off it, and he does look shimmery and slimy, especially up in this section here in the shoulder region here. It's painted really well. It does have this wet effect to him with the satin finish to it. The arms articulated, and the joints are covered up with this more of this rubber on it. And if anything, in my opinion, is going to give over the years, it's going to be this rubber here from bending the arms, kind of similar to Robocop's elbow and knee joints. It does have this rubber sleeve over it, so it's something that's going to have to be looked after and treated with some 303. Yeah, I do believe you leave him in a bent position, that arm in a bent position for a long time, that rubber is going to crack and split. So that's something to bear in mind for the figure. More just covered joints with this little rubber piece here. Again, I wouldn't worry about this piece or the piece at the ankle joints. It's more this piece here at the elbow that, because it articulates from posing him, it's gonna go just like the Robocop figures. And then on the back, if I can get it into frame, we have more of the detail of these tubing sticking out of his back, very similar to H.R. Geiger's design, almost like a bronze painted on the tip of them. Fantastic amount of detail on this figure. This is absolutely fantastic. Every single centimeter of this figure has detail to it. He has this little spine running down the back of him as well, just comes out at the back. I think that's quite different to H.R. Geiger's design there, having that little spine running out the back. Very tapered in waist on this, very snatched, as the kids say today. Very snatched waist, again, very different to the original man in a rubber suit design from Alien, from the big chap, and Alien Warrior. Absolutely looks fantastic. It is more alien looking with that narrow little waist on it. Just looks really, really different to the original designs, and doesn't look like a man in a suit, which it wasn't in the movie. It was all CG. Quite a lot of range of motion in him for what he is, for the big lump that it is. It does have quite a range of motion to it. There's a lot of poses you can get this thing, into. So let's get a bit closer and have a look at the sculpt itself, just close in. So here we are for the sculpt of the Xenomorph, and It is absolutely fantastic, just like the rest of the figure, to be honest with you. It's absolutely amazing. Amazing engineering here. And just before I focus in on the head sculpt, you see the way the light bounces off the arms and the upper leg there, and has this shimmer off it. It is quite well done. Although I said I'd like them to look a bit slimy, I just don't know how Hot Toys wouldn't have done it. I think it's the best job they could have done. But looking at the head sculpt, look at the detail in there. There's no attention to detail spared on this thing. It's fantastic to see all those different colours in there, things you wouldn't have picked up on in the movie. There's almost like a pink in there. There's some lavender colouring in there on the jaw. There's deep greens in there, mixed with the bronze on the tubing, running from front to back, running down the length of the head. It's absolutely amazing looking. Really well detailed, and there is quite a bit of articulation to it. Again, fantastic engineering, given the size of it. Now, granted, when you pull it back, it does catch on these tubing sticking out the back, so you can only lift the head up so far. But he does have quite the range of motion in it for what it is. Plenty of left and right, plenty of pivot. It really, you can see there lots and lots of pivot, lots and lots of side, left to right. There is quite a lot of articulation in this thing. What a fantastic piece of engineering. Just the head itself. As for the jaw, I've shown you the swap out jaw. But this jaw here does articulate. As you can see, it has there's 3 positions there that it can be put into. Now, as I mentioned, it wouldn't be ideal, as Hot Toys well know, not ideal to leave this one fully open, because you are running the risk of this rubber piece here overstretching or snapping and or breaking permanently, so they've been nice enough to give us the swap out lower jaw. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to actually open the mouth up, and if I can find it, there it is. Hot Toys give you this magnet. This is kind of a new way of getting the inner jaw out of the older ones. You used to have to push a switch forward at the front, but what you do is you just pop the magnet in there and pull the inner jaw out, and you can see it's quite long. Pause. I'm not overly impressed with the paintwork on this jaw. It's very flat, very matte. It certainly doesn't have any shimmer off it or any sliminess. And anybody who knows the xenomorphs know they drool a lot, and there's a lot of wetness inside the mouth. So I think it's really lacking this part of it. Just to have that effect, of the amount of drool that comes out of the mouth. I think that should be a lot wetter looking, and should be it just doesn't represent that very much. It's very flat paint. I might actually semi-gloss that up myself, just to be in uniform with the rest of it, or how it should look in the movie with the wetness to it. The other thing as well is it's quite loose. The tongue, or the inner mouth, it doesn't center. It just sits on his lower teeth. If I can get him to sit, it just sits on his lower teeth, which doesn't impress me at all. It's quite loose. It shouldn't be sitting on his lower teeth at all. It should be sitting centered like so. It's catching on his teeth, which isn't ideal at all. And to get it back, you just kind of push it back in. No, that's not in. I don't think that's in far enough. I got to push that in the rest of the way. There we go. No, why isn't the jaw closing? We have an issue here. Yeah, I haven't got it back far enough. Just push that in. There we go. And there we are. So what I'll do now is I'll swap out the lower jaw, actually. The instructions tell you to pull it from there. There we go. And you just kind of have to go for it. It feels like it's going to break. You just have to kind of attack it. And then from the side, the instructions tell you to bring it in from the side to get the inner jaw lined up. And just, again, it's all very daunting. You feel like it's going to break. If I can line it up to the clip, this is a bit scary, I will admit. There we go. And clip in the fixed open mouth. So again, that looks great as well. So you can have him permanently with the open mouth in that position with the tongue out without compromising the rubber at the side, which is absolutely fantastic from Hot Toys to do. And then we have the swap out carapace. So again, the instructions tell you to pop it out from the top. If I just turn it to the side there, pull it from the top. This is very daunting. It's very scary. It's so tight, you just have to go for it and just pull it off. And the lower the lower jaws come out. There we go. And there we are for the details inside the carapace. Again, wow, absolutely amazing. This is a piece that's covered by the carapace, and they've gone as far as to add all of the details, the rest of this spinal effect running up. I hope the camera's picking up on that, but you can see the full skull running the whole way down the length of it through this almost translucent carapace. And anybody who's familiar with the movie Predator 2 would know exactly what the skull looks like. We got to see that as a tease, and that opened up a whole new franchise of Aliens versus Predator, as a lot of you know. Not the greatest movies in the world, entertaining at best. But there we have it for the skull at the back. And moving back up to the skull at the front, you can see it has quite a scary looking image with the carapace over it. So let's get this Xenomorph scorched carapace on there and swapped out. Again, quite taunting, quite scary. You feel like it's gonna break. It just needs to be clipped in. You just have to go for it. So there we have it for the swapped out carapace, the scorched carapace. Which, to be honest with you, although he is called the Scorched Xenomorph, and it is nice to have the battle damage to him, and it might add a little bit of character to him as well, but I'd be inclined to go for the clean look. I think the cleaner look looks better, and the closed mouth looks more in theme with the alien to me as well. So I think I'd be having him with the clean and the closed mouth. So there we have it for the head sculpt, and there we have it for the Hot Toys Scorched Xenomorph. So if you did like the video, I would encourage you to please hit the like and the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will leave it at that. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and keep your eye out for more content from this channel, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.